Welcome to Talkin' Mets with Rob. Subscribe to the channel for all your New York Mets in-game live, pre-game, post-game, roundtable podcast, and all the breaking news for our New York Mets. Enjoy the show and let's go Mets.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets with Rob. How is everybody doing? Before I get started talking about Crochet to the New York Mets, don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you're enjoying my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos and when I go live, you guys know what to do. Hit on that subscribe button, everybody. All right, guys. So the rumors are flying here. Are the New York Mets going after and trading for Garrett Crochet? Well, we're going to look all into that. We're going to look into his contract, his stats, and the possible trade proposal to land Garrett Crochet and have him wearing orange and blue in 2025. So let's get started with how good Garrett Crochet is as a starter. We know how good he is. We know that the White Sox babied him the first couple of seasons in his career. Obviously, he had Tommy John surgery. We'll get into that as well. But he was in the bullpen since he's come up until last year. And this is why you have to keep on looking at why the Mets and David Stearns is looking to get Garrett Crochet. Number one, the innings on the arms is not a lot, unlike a lot of pitchers who pitch for 4, 5, 6 years, in their career, along with Garrett Crochet. And that is something that you have to look at when it comes to Garrett Crochet. There's not a lot of innings on his arm. He already had Tommy John surgery, and it's 2 years from Tommy John surgery, and you see what he did this year, and people are going to be concerned about the innings he pitched this year, but he was on the worst team in baseball history, and you wonder why a guy doesn't want to blow out his arm for a really, really bad team. But I don't think the innings are concerning if you're a team like the New York Mets who are trying to trade for Garrett Crochet and have that top-level ace at the top of your staff going forward, especially when he will be under control for the next couple of years, and we'll get into that as well. All right, guys. So how possible is it that Garrett Crochet can be dealt to the New York Mets? I think it's very likely, because what do the Mets have that the White Sox are looking for? What did they say they were looking for? And when you go back to what the GM of the White Sox said, Chris Getz of the White Sox said, they are looking for young, controllable position players. That is the players they want back for Garrett Crochet. He's been very vocal about what they want for Garrett Crochet. What do the Mets have a lot of? Young prospects, controllable position players, and specifically in the infield. If we all believe that the possibility of Pete Alonso coming back, or a guy that's going to be here for a couple of years, is going to play first base. You got Vientos establishing himself at third base. You got Lindor for a very long time. The only question mark is second base at this point. Right now, you still have McNeil, but a lot of people believe Acuna could be the second baseman of the future, and specifically in 2025. So what do the Mets have a lot of? You got Jet Williams. You got Ronnie Mauricio. You got other younger top prospects that are in the farm as well, that are infield prospects. There is a lot of them. If there's no room for these guys, and they're established guys that are going to be on the infield for many, many, many years, you're blocking guys like Jet Williams and Ronnie Mauricio. And if you want to switch Ronnie Mauricio at second base and put Acuna back in that possible trade situation, you got infielders that you can trade for Garrett Crochet. And people are like, why are you going to get rid of your prospects? Because at some point, you got to make that big move. You got to make your team better with established players. How many more guys you're going to bring up to the farm that are helping this team? Vientos. You got Acuna. You had Alonso. You most likely might have Alonso. You got Brandon Nimmo. You got Francisco Alvarez. There's a lot of guys that are already on this team as core guys that you develop through your farm system. You don't need every single player as a position player from your farm system. And a lot of times it doesn't work like that. Even the Atlanta Braves got Matt Olson. They got Murphy. They added guys via trade that are established with their young core. And that's what the New York Mets have to do here if they think that this is the best route going forward. Would you rather trade to get Garrett Crochet, who's 2 years under control, or do you want to spend $250 million plus on a guy like Corbin Burnes or a Blake Snell, probably going to cost you $200 million? At least with Crochet, he has a heck of a less innings than Burnes and Snell. And that's probably what David Stearns is looking at when it comes to Garrett Crochet. So when we look at the stats of Garrett Crochet, we're going to look at it right here. And what do you see? Well, what you see when it comes to Garrett Crochet is this, right? In 2022, we did have his Tommy John surgery, and that basically made him miss the entire year, right? And it kind of trickled into 2023. But what have you seen lately with Tommy John surgery, with specific pitchers, bullpen or starter, is that it takes them the year after the surgery to really figure out and have that mental block out of their way. And it seems like the second year after Tommy John is where they really pick it up. And you can see in 2024, right, he had a 3.58 ERA. He threw 32 starts. His first year where he had a tremendous amount of starts. You know why? Because he was in the bullpen. So the innings are very limited for Garrett Crochet. And when you look at the innings, he pitched 146 innings in 2024. And we have to remember, he was on the worst team in history in Major League Baseball. Why are you him personally and the team who is probably going to trade him, if not this offseason, definitely at the trade deadline? You don't want to get that guy hurt. Your biggest asset, you don't want to get hurt. And personally, for Garrett Crochet, you're looking for a big-time payday. So you don't want to get hurt if you do get traded and a team wants to extend you, or in 2 years when you become a free agent, you don't want to get hurt. So if you're going to limit your innings, it's in the best interest of the team and the player to not injure this guy. And he didn't throw a lot of innings later in the year because of that injury situation. You don't want to get him injured because it's an asset. His left arm is an asset to himself personally and the White Sox, who are going to trade him this offseason or at the trade deadline. So the New York Mets have a prime opportunity here to get one of the dominant pitchers in baseball, and he's a lefty, and he's under control. And Garrett Crochet talked about he wants to sign an extension with a team that trades for him. So let's look at why Garrett Crochet is very valuable, possibly, to the New York Mets. And it's not just how good he can be. He threw 146 innings. You just assume that he's going to pitch a little bit more year by year. So you're going to have probably, I would say, 160 innings, 165 innings in 2025, 2026, maybe a little bit more, right? In his going into his free agent year. And that's something that you have to look at as well. And this is why the Mets would want a guy like this, because number one, he's still very young, right? He's in that age area where he's not old, right? He's in his late 20s. But if you look at his contract right here, he's making chump change. But obviously, you're going to rip up those last 2 arbitration years of his contract, and you're going to add on. And it's going to be cheaper than a Burnes, than a Snell. 100% cheaper, because you're buying out 2 of his arbitration years. So you might get $5 to $6 million, or even per year, or even in total, you might save about $50 to $60 million in total contract, because you're ripping up those 2 years of arbitration, and he's not making nothing, but he's not a free agent until 2027. So you're getting Garrett Crochet for basically 2 years, full 2 years, to lead your rotation. That is big news, and that's not saying that the Mets will extend him, but they probably will, because Garrett Crochet wants that. And why would the Mets want to lose a guy who's under 30 years old and he's a lefty and a top line starter? Just makes sense. And you save money on the Burnes and Snell contracts, probably between $40 and $60 million. That is a huge deal, because that helps you not only this year, but in years going into the future, where you might want to still sign certain players. You're still going to go after Juan Soto. You're still going to try to re-sign Pete Alonso. You're still going to do other things in the rotation and bullpen. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to trade for Crochet and extend him, that is going to probably be much less than what you would give Snell or Burnes, who have a heck of a lot more innings under their belt than Garrett Crochet. So just think of it this way, guys. How much more money he's going to make? About what, $3.5 million in this arbitration period if the extension doesn't happen this year. But even if it does, you're still saving money. So you're going to have him under control for 2 more years to lead your rotation. And what will it take to get Garrett Crochet? Well, we're going to look at it right here, guys. And the most important thing is right here, right? What do the Mets have to give up? Getz, the GM of the White Sox, said it. I want young, controllable pitching position players. That's what he wants. The Mets got a ton of them, specifically in their top 10, right? And it starts off with this. The White Sox will get Jet Williams, the number 2 overall prospect in the Mets system. He can play short. He can play second. Supposedly, most likely, could play center field. And probably you might be able to get him at third base as well. So he's a guy that is very versatile, right? A top prospect. A lot of people believe that he's going to be very good. Great. Send him to the White Sox. Caution Benj. Who is that guy? That is the guy that the Mets drafted last season. He is a guy that we believe, or the Mets believe, that is going to be a very good player. He's a guy that could show a tremendous amount of power. He is a guy that is good defensively. Got them 5 tools that everybody loves to talk about. Caution Benj. Going to the White Sox, number 5 prospect in the Mets system. And then you'll trickle in a pitcher, of course. And Jonah Tong, the number 10 overall prospect in the Mets system, had a very good season for the New York Mets in the minors. Those are 3 guys right there in your top 10 for Garrett Crochet. And remember, guys, the reason why it's not going to be an outstanding, crazy package going back overall to the White Sox is because Garrett Crochet, you're going to have to be a team that says, listen, we got to extend him as well. Just because he got 2 years of control, we want to extend him. So you're not going to completely overpay for a guy that you're extending as well. And that's the mindset David Stearns is going to have. Now, can he push around players a little bit? If you think Jet Williams is the guy, I think Jet Williams has to be in this deal. But say if it's not Carson Benz, say if it's somebody else, say if it is Acuna or Mauricio, right? It's got to be one of these guys. And I think that you might get away with it with Benj. If not, I'm okay throwing either Mauricio or Acuna in there other than Benj. I would do that. And the reason why is because there's other ways to go about it, right? You still got Jeff McNeil for $15 million this year, right? Either if you trade Acuna or Mauricio, one of these guys is going to have an opportunity to win the second base job. So you have options here along with Jeff McNeil. So this is where the Mets come in and have a great opportunity here where they're not going to use their prospects and be like, we don't have nobody at this position. Now we have to go sign somebody. That is not the case. They have opportunities here to mess around with this trade proposal, but I believe this can get it done for Garrett Crochet. And when it comes down to it, guys, where is Garrett Crochet going to go? I think it's going to be the New York Mets. I don't think David Stearns wants to trade for a guy or does want to trade for a guy that has 2 years of control, a tremendous amount, least amount of innings that you can get throughout in trades or in free agency when it comes to pitchers and starting pitchers. He has the least amount of innings. He's shown tremendous potential, and he's a lefty. It's almost too good to be true. Do the Mets want to spend $250 million on Corbin Burns? Do they want to spend $200 million on Blake Snell? Or save some money on an extension with Garrett Crochet and trade for Garrett Crochet? And again, once again, this is what the trade proposal, in my opinion, would look like. Jet Williams, Carson Benj, and Jonah Tong, the 2 5th and 10th prospect in the Mets system for Garrett Crochet. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of this trade proposal. Do you think the Mets are willing to trade prospects to the White Sox for Garrett Crochet? I believe they will. I think it saves them money overall, and it saves them overall payroll this year to do even more in this offseason to maybe retain Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, etc. With that said, guys, let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of this trade proposal, and do you think it's going to happen for the New York Mets? Thank you guys for watching, and as always, Mets fans, let's go Mets. Legends made on this ground. From silence we scream, make a sound. Rising high.